We are back. Back with another one. Back with a bang. Yeah. So we've just wrapped up the season, the club season at large. The Champions League final took place. Real Madrid winning. The deserved winners, 15-time champions. Orlando Pirates defending their NetBank Cup crown. And yeah, man, that was pretty much of the action. You understand? As well as Olympiacos also claiming the UEFA, Conference League. So, you know what? It was pretty much, of an exciting weekend of football, to say the least. So now we're heading on to international football. Real Madrid also confirming the signing of Kylian Mbappe just straight after winning the UEFA Champions League. What a way. You understand? I'm looking forward to that attack between Rodrigo, Mbappe, as well as Vinicius. Woo! These are exciting times to be a Real Madrid fan, huh? I'm not a Real Madrid fan, but I'm saying if you are a Real Madrid fan, I'm sure these are exciting times. Football is a religion. We back, man. Bube Simpatium Mhlabe here, straight up. So, the host of the Euro 2024, Germany. I want us to focus on the international matches right now. We're going international, baby. Let's do it. So, straight up, Germany took on Ukraine, in an international friendly. This was just like preparation, a warm-up, for the big tournament that will be hosted by the Germans. You understand? Just like from next weekend. You understand? So, Germany were held to a disappointing goalless draw by Ukraine. You understand? And, the game took place at the Max-Morlock Stadium in Nuremberg, in the first of two friendlies before the 2024 UEFA European Championships. And let's just say, it was pretty much of a disappointing encounter, to say the least, but, there was some, talking points that I can actually give you from this particular game because, spending 90 minutes watching this kind of game, you would actually expect more, right? You'd actually be expecting that both teams would give you a run for their money, but it wasn't actually meant to be. So let me just give you a brief of what took place in this disappointing goalless draw between Germany and Ukraine. So Germany's opening match, of the tournament, basically before the tournament that will be taking place in Germany, right? And remember, it's a change of season for Europe. Europe is going to be summer, right? It's already summer for them. And here in Africa, we're battling through the winter. And it's very cold out here. So, it's just like 11 days away, and this is just basically one of two games they have got to prepare. And Julian, Nagelsmann, was without the likes of Toni Kroos, Antonio Rudiger, Niklas Füllkrug, as well as Nico, Schlotterbeck, following the UEFA Champions League exploits. However, he still named a strong starting 11 for the encounter against the Ukraine side. That was also gearing up for the big tournament, the Euros, right? And the visitors, they did provide some warning signs for the Germans, of their counter-attacking danger with 5 minutes, when, Mallorca, Matevinko, fired from close range. But, Nagelsmann's men, they responded strongly, I must say. And admittedly, there were a few clear-cut chances, however, you saw with Ilkay Gundogan, he should have actually scored from the edge of the 6-yard box. And he was actually mistimed. He just mistimed his header, from that Pascal, Grub's cross. While also Matvilenko, you understand, he also deflected Jamal Musiala's late shot narrowly wide of the post. And following those particular, moments of half chances being created by the Germans, the home side, at the other end, you could say even Ukraine also launched up their own attacks. They also created chances of their own. We saw through Roman, Yaremchuk, right? Yaremchuk, he actually forced a strong save from Manuel Neuer. Just after Jonathan Tah did so well just following that moment when Jonathan Tah was dispossessed. And in the end, though, neither side could actually find the breakthrough before, the halftime break, right? And from that particular moment in time, you thought maybe there would be actually improvement in the following, 45 minutes of the game. However, just after the interval, Germany were far more dangerous. Especially following the introduction of Maximiliano Bayer as well as Kai Havertz. They had actually headed beyond the post, shortly after the restart. But Replacement Behe hit the woodwork, with his first involvement after coming on around the hour mark before, actually forcing an important low save from, Anthony, Chubin. And Ukraine also, surprisingly, Ukraine was showing no fear in this particular game. They were showing no fear. They were not fearful of their German opponents. You understand? Because Ukraine actually continued to threaten on the break. But give credit to Neuer, who was relatively serene between the sticks, and he was rarely forced into action. As if often, the way with international friendlies, the substitutes are often frequent, as the game approached its climax, with both managers actually keen to take a good look at the players, right? And they did have, quality available. There was quality available on either side. So another substitution, Chris, Furich, tested, Trubin with a fierce effort just before Bayer headed wide, from a Dennis, Undaf, cross to the back post. Overall, Germany dominated possession as expected. And they were increasingly in control as time went by, but they were ultimately unable to find the goal they were looking for. And Nagelsmann and his players will actually, turn their attention to Friday's match. With Greece waiting, at Borussia Park, where the head coach will actually hope to find, to be with his full squad. You understand? The likes of Rudiger, the likes of Toni Kroos, etc. And I must say, this particular encounter, it was not really all too bad. There were players that did show up in this game, especially Zinchenko. Even though Zinchenko hasn't been at his best, of form, but he really did show up in today's game, in this particular encounter. And, when you talk about Bayer and Alexander, Pavlovich, they picked up their first caps for Germany. And Germany have now kept clean sheets in basically 2 of their 3 previous, games, having last kept the opposition out in March 2023 before that. And Nagelsmann record in charge of the national team, in terms of friendly matches, basically 3 wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats. And, to keep the record, Germany have never lost against Ukraine. They've got 5 wins as well as 5 draws. And Germany are now unbeaten in consecutive home matches for the first time in 2 years. And Thomas Müller now, he has actually made 129 appearances for Germany. Just one short of Lukas Podolski, who occupies 3rd place in the all-time list. So records are there to be protected, I guess, Yeah. As a continuation, Namibia, we're talking about us. These are our Southern African brothers, We're talking about Namibia, brothers and sisters, Namibia and Lesotho. You understand? They're like our neighbors, man. We brothers and sisters, to say the least, So Namibia took on Lesotho in an international friendly. And remember, both these nations are also prepping for the World Cup qualifiers, which will be taking place just in a few days' time as well, right? So both these sides actually played out to a 1-1 draw, in an international football friendly end at the Dobsonville Stadium in Johannesburg on Saturday, right? And this match was actually serving as a preparation for Namibia's FIFA World Cup, qualifiers against Liberia, on Wednesday, and Tunisia on Sunday, the 9th of June. And, we saw even coach Colin Benjamin, he used the occasion to actually select, several newcomers, such as Erastus Kulula, we saw Ndajerere, Maharero, you also saw Ben Namib, and David, Ndunyema, we also saw Moses Shidolo as well. And there was also Lawrence. I think Lawrence Dozeb was also making his debut for Namibia. And yeah, it was basically a great thing to actually hand several players, their international debut, actually don their, the colors of their national team, And Kulula actually was the one who gave the Brave Warriors the lead, but the Lesotho defender Mutlomelo Mkwanazi, soon equalized as the two sides had to settle for a 1-1 draw. And my thoughts on basically this particular encounter is the fact that, it was actually a good exercise for both teams, because it was a good test, to give like the youngsters, a good run out and, to actually give them some international experience. And the way Lesotho, could actually come and play from the back, That was actually very impressive. And it is actually something, that both teams actually have to work on, because they really need to make it more difficult for their opponents, to actually build up so easily from the back. And is that thing that I could just say it was actually good, from a technical perspective. And, Namibia actually had one or two chances in the first half, but, the youngsters are still going to learn. They'll still learn. They will actually get, to be more exposed to actually playing at bigger games, at bigger occasions for their national team, as well as even Lesotho. Because you look at the fact that, Namibia, it was actually a new look team. You understand? They played against a very formidable opponent in Lesotho, and that was actually, Lesotho were very well organized. And basically, it is a matter of where both sides really need to be able to see how they are able to unlock well organized oppositions. You understand? And a 1-1 draw basically is a fair share of the spoils for both sides. You understand? In my opinion. Okay. The next one. Football is indeed a religion, I must tell you. Right? The way we just keep on coming back to give you guys more updates on all the international games that take place. You understand? You know what? It's so enjoyable. But I guess when you love something, you're passionate about something, you'll always try to find the time to actually, do what you love, man. You understand? And do it in the best way possible. So look, from Europe, we go back to North America. Yeah. And it was Mexico taking on Bolivia. Both countries were actually preparing for the Copa America, which will also be taking place in just a few days' time in the United States of America. And to say the least, Mexico did do well. They start their summer campaign with a victory over Bolivia. And El Tri, got a 1-0 victory over, CONMEBOL side in their first match of the summer, right? So it was just like basically for Mexico, it was a mixture of the under-23 side. You understand? It was just mostly under-23, players that were based in this particular squad that were actually, featured in this particular game. And Mexico started their summer campaign with a 1-0 victory against Bolivia. Mexico, was the slightly better team, and they got the deserved result. With the squad that will almost be the one playing in the 2024 Maurice Revello tournament. Both teams will actually be participating in the 2024 Copa America, as Mexico will play against Uruguay on Wednesday, while Bolivia plays against Ecuador on June the 12th. Okay? So the first half, let's get straight to it. The first half was actually, I must say, it was evenly balanced. Although Mexico actually had the better of the chances, to say the least, and they actually created more. Because the first half started like when Mexico, coming out with almost an all under 23 squad, except for their goalkeeper Julio Gonzalez, as well as the defender, Alex Pena. Bolivia didn't have, their better squad, but they actually had key players such as the veteran goalkeeper Carlos Lampe. And, across how it actually began was, you saw with the fact that there was actually a cross into the area which found Edson, Ayon, whose header, was barely cleared by a defender. And in the ensuing corner kick, the ball fell to Ayon, whose right-footed shot was actually also barely cleared by a defender. And after winning the ball in the area, Ricardo Montreal got off a close-range header. You understand? That would eventually hit the post, And Ayon was actually proving to actually be a thorn, for the opponents. Because Ayon would get off a great left-footed shot, in the area that actually forced Lampe to make a save. And although the rebound fell to Efrain Alvarez, the defense cleared the ball before he actually got off a shot. And Fernando, Suacedo, got off, a shot in the area, but it also went wide, narrowly wide, right? And a back pass from Alejandro Gomez, also, it almost turned into a goal, following the fact that Gonzalez failed to get to it, but it eventually went wide. Because of an injury, Jesus, Sagredo, came on for Sebastian Alvarez. And Romario, Vaca, got a shot from outside of the area, and that would eventually just go wide. But I must say, these under 23 boys of Mexico, they were really surprising me. They did so well in this particular game, and they really created chance after chance after chance after chance. And the next great chance that did come on, was the fact that, there was that cross, the cross that went into the area by Jordan Carrillo, which was just cleared off, before, Ion, could actually get off a shot from close range. You understand? And from that the rebound would then fall to Andres, Montano, but his left-footed shot from outside the area would just go inchingly wide. And the first half ended, and though Mexico had actually dominated the early minutes, Bolivia had even the match, and the scoreless tie was just a fair result, from basically the opening 45 minutes of the game. And to say the least, Mexico should have just scored like 3. They could have had 3 or 4 goals. And then the second 45 minutes. The second 45 minutes started with Mexico subbing out, George Rodriguez for Rodrigo Huescas. And Monreal would actually make a great day, to get past 2 defenders and get into the area where his pass would actually find Efrain Alvarez, who calmly placed a left-footed shot past Lampe into the net to score and give Mexico a deserved 1-0 lead. It was actually, a great day from Montreal, I meant to say. Montreal, as well as also Alvarez, they get the lead amid it into the second half, and Fidel Ambris, would get the time and space to actually get a right-footed shot from outside the area, but it just went well wide, And obviously, as the game progressed, Mexico had to make some refreshments, bringing in some new recruitments into the field of play. And Mexico, then subbed out Efrain Alvarez for Fidel Ambris, for Rodrigo Lopez, as well as Denzel Garcia. And Bolivia, they actually replaced Jaro Quinteros, as well as Leonel Justininho, you understand, and Yuma Rocha and Camelo Algranes, you understand, for Cesar Romero, Boris, Caspedes, Erwin Sarveda, as well as Cizo, Mane, is it Menacho? Yeah, Menacho. Yeah, I'll get to pronounce these names properly, But Caspedes, would get the ball in the area from that point onwards. They did actually make a difference for Bolivia. As we did see with Caspedes, he would get the ball in the area and close to getting a close range shot off before Mexico's defense cleared the ball. And there was actually a good free kick, from Jordan Carrillo, which was cleared by Bolivia's defense. And in ensuring the corner kick, Carrillo got off a header, that was basically also cleared by Bolivia's defense. And from that particular moment in time, it was just all Mexico. Mexico were just looking forward for that insurance goal, but unfortunately they just couldn't get it. But, the match wasn't the greatest to have been played, but it was actually a great result for Mexico. While it's not actually a great result for Mexico's senior team squad, national team, but it is a great result for an under-23 team that defeated a senior, CONMEBOL squad. Almost all of the players will be playing in the Mauricio Revello tournament, and such a result could potentially mean that they are the candidate to take the tournament. Meanwhile, Mexico will play a much tougher match on Wednesday against Uruguay, and this time, with the expected Copa America squad, that match should be a better test for what will be expected, in the Copa America. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my question to you guys is this the best of England? And could this be the moment that we finally see the Three Lions doing what they're supposed to do, which is win major silverware? Could this be the moment? They came close in the previous tournament, right? Losing to Italy, the eventual winners, on home soil at Wembley. And I'm just asking myself, man, could this be their moment in Germany? Could this be their moment? Could it? This match against Bosnia-Herzegovina, it was basically a much improved second half performance, which did see England, cruise to a 3-0 victory over their opponents in their first, Euro 2024 warm-up game at St. James's Park. And an England lineup that was likely much different to the one which will take the field against Serbia in the Euro 2024 opener in 13 days' time. They struggled to create, against the new Bosnia boss. I'm talking about Sergej, Barbaras. You understand? And the coach of Bosnia-Herzegovina, he decided to go with a defensive lineup, before halftime. You understand? That's what we saw. That was basically his game plan. You understand? Was to sit back and defend and basically just hit England on the transition. But unfortunately, it didn't go as according to plan. It just backfired. And from an England perspective, Eberechi, Eze, as well as Cole Palmer, they had been two of the few bright spots for Gareth Southgate to the point, to this very point. However, the Three Lions, they re-emerged from the dressing room energized. And eventually they put their opponents to the sword. As expected. I didn't expect anything less from this England side. I really didn't expect anything less from them. On a serious note, Palmer netted a deserved opener. Basically that was his first in England colours from the spot. Cole Palmer from 12 yards out, never in a doubt. Cole Palmer from 12 yards out, never in a doubt. Never in a doubt. And it was also, that penalty was rewarded after the video assistant referee noticed a shirt pull on Ezri Konsa, in the area before Trent Alexander-Arnold scored an exquisite second with a cushioned volley into the far corner. I mean, that's what Trent Alexander-Arnold does best, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly what he does best. As well as Cole Palmer. It's like, Cole Palmer and Trent Alexander-Arnold, they did what they do best, man. Cole Palmer, you never expect him to disappoint from the penalty spot. Trent Alexander-Arnold, how many times do we see him scoring those kind of goals? How many times? How many times? I mean, it's always, it's expected at this particular moment in time. It doesn't come as a surprise. And then Harry Kane, who came on moments after Palmer's opener, he added a late third, with the typical poacher's finish. Again, what else do we expect? I mean, I don't expect anything less from Harry Kane, and what a perfect way to celebrate your 90th England cap by poking home from a corner to give the hosts a margin of victory, which slightly flattered, their performance. Basically their performance was not all too convincing, but it was to say, the result was more important than ever. And after the game, you could just tell that, I would say that the performance of some players, would give, Southgate a selection headache ahead of Friday's deadline to actually pick, his final 26-man squad. And, for those of y'all that actually are rooting for England to actually win the Euro 2024, right? I would say I would rather actually want to see more good performances from them, that make you think that rather than poor performances, you understand? And there were a lot of individual things that I would say, England did so well in this particular game, and, to say the least, there are several players that I believe that they do deserve to make the final 26-man squad, but it is always up to Southgate, you understand? And hopefully Southgate does the right thing. Because Southgate's lineup 4 days before he selects his final 26 to take to Germany, basically that was experimental. But again, let's just mention the fact that, the pre-match message was clear. Show you can play our way of football. That was basically clear. And England were largely determined to play through, the thirds from the start, but they struggled to create against the Bosnia, 5-man backline, which set up to, successfully frustrate the host, England. Okay. And I did also witness that there were players like, also Conor Gallagher. They were also in the team that also played, a full 90 minutes. He was also given a run out. He had a wonderful season with Chelsea, and he was also given a run out. It was actually a decent performance from the Chelsea captain. And England's best moment of the first half, when you run it back, it was actually architected by Palmer, who turned with his first touch and then fed Watkins into the box with his second before the forward was denied by Nikola Valsic, you understand, at his near post. And, the lack of intensity, it was like a commonplace in pre-tournament friendlies. It was actually even evident, as Mark Guehi, presented Bosnia's finest chance to Harris, Radinovic, you understand? And with a poor pass, which, Kasimepasa, forward saw deflected behind from 20 yards, you understand? And that was basically the only opening that, the away side had. Only. But England were sorely lacking tempo, but Southgate retained belief in the starting 11 that could actually provide it after the halftime break, and it resisted the chance of making changes at the break at all. And he was actually rewarded with a second 45 minutes of near one traffic from his side, who could have netted an instant opener when Watkins headed over the bar, with a corner. And Palmer, he saw his shot being blocked from another pacey move before he was actually handed the perfect opportunity to net on debut for England. And he's got VAR to actually thank, because they spotted a short pull on, Konsa at the corner. And he continued with his excellent form from the spot by beating, Valsic, from 12 yards out. I mean, never in a doubt would you never expect that Cole Palmer wouldn't find the back of the net from 12 yards out. We know he has done it season in, season out for Chelsea in this past season. He has done it so many times. So, you know what? Cole Palmer had a stunning season. He had a wonderful season, in his first debut season with the Londoners after signing that shock transfer from Manchester City. And we then saw the captain, Harry Kane, was then introduced alongside a number of other experienced England players, with the regular England captain twice wayward before Alexander-Arnold fired in England's second goal. And, in the other game, I did mention the fact that Germany were held to a 0-0 draw by Ukraine, failing to find the back of the net despite registering 27 shots against their visitors, whereas Croatia made lighter work of facing North Macedonia, with Lorio Mache's double helping them to a 3-0 win. You understand? And then the former Chelsea midfielder Marko Pasalic added a second half third for the hosts. I'm talking about Croatia. And back to this match between England and Bosnia-Herzegovina. Trent Alexander-Arnold, he started in central midfield before drifting to right back. And he popped up at the back post, to actually cushion a superb volley, back across the goal from a tight angle from a Jack Grealish cross. And the cushion was just like a fair reflection of England's improvement. But Kane's late third, showed their intimidating, potency in attack. Whereas Jared Bowen was denied a first international goal with his effort, from a short corner, and then it was also blocked by Konsa, right? But Kane actually, he did so well, forcing the loose ball to actually net his 63rd strike in England colours. Hey man, he's England's all-time top goal scorer. He long surpassed Wayne Rooney's record long ago. But like I said, man, few questions were answered by England's, evening overall. But the performances of Eze and Palmer did, their hopes of a spot in Germany little harm. With one final chance to actually impress against Iceland at Wembley on Friday evening. So I must say, England, I'm very impressed by their performance. But, there is still there's still room for improvement, to say the least. There's still room for improvement, man. Plenty of room for improvement. The 2016 champions, Portugal. Look, Portugal, it was a convincing victory on their side, in that 4-2 victory over, Finland. And I guess they survived the late game, man, So it was just like a warm-up match, just like all the other, nations that will be partaking in the Euro tournament that will be hosted by Germany, just in a few days' time. And Portugal will then face further tests against Croatia on Saturday, as well as Ireland next week, in which it will be their final warm-up game, before, the beginning of the Euro campaign on the 18th of June, which they will be taking on Czech Republic in Group F. Yeah. Bube Simpatio Mhlaba here. Welcome once again to Football is a Religion. Let's get going. Let's keep it short and precise, right? So Portugal did put up a dominant display as expected. And I think it was more of a fact that, Bruno Fernandes really did show up to the game. He really did show up and he did step up, to the plate when he was actually asked to do so, because, he came off the bench, to actually score twice and help Portugal kick off, their Euro 2024 preparation with that 4-2 victory, over the Finland. Unfortunately, Finland, they didn't qualify, but it was a convincing 4-2 victory for Portugal in Lisbon, the capital of that particular nation. And remember, the Portuguese, they were without their, talisman, Cristiano Ronaldo, who was resting before reporting for duty on Friday ahead of their sixth, his sixth. Basically, this will be Ronaldo's sixth European Championship. So the coach, Roberto De Zerbi, he fielded a highly, changed squad that it dominated from the start, as expected. The defender Ruben Diaz, gave the host the lead with a stooping header. You understand, from a corner in the 17th minute, and then Liverpool striker Diogo Jota extended its lead from the spot after Francisco Conceição, right, was fouled inside the area in stoppage time just before the break. And from that particular moment in time, we did see actually Fernandes, in the second half. He was just one of 5 substitutes at halftime, and then he netted Portugal's third with a fine curling shot into the top corner just from the edge of the box, 10 minutes into the second half. And from that particular moment in time, you would swear that, basically it's just game over. It's game over. There's nothing much to play for, but I guess, Finland did surprise us. Remember the Norwich striker, Timo Pukki? Does that name ring a bell, ladies and gentlemen? That man who was on form for Norwich City in the Premier League not so long ago. You understand? Just a few seasons ago. Unfortunately, that Norwich City were relegated eventually, but he was on stellar form. He was on sublime form for Norwich City in the Premier League. He then did. He was even a substitute. He came on as a substitute. He took advantage of a complacent Portugal defense to actually score twice within a space of 5 minutes to bring his side, back into the game. But yay, credit goes to Bruno Fernandes, who took charge of the situation, secured the victory with a close range strike in the 84th minute. For Portugal, sealing a 4-2 victory for them, very comfortable at the end. And Portugal next face Croatia on Saturday, and then Ireland, next week, in which will be its final warm-up games before they begin their Euro campaign on June the 18th against Czech Republic in Group F. And it will also take on Turkey as well as Georgia. So yeah, I'm basically looking forward to that, man. We all are. Basically, we all are looking forward to it. We continue. Remember, these are the defending Euro champions. You understand? They were the ones that won the tournament. Disappointing those 3 Lions fans, the England fans, unfortunately. And I'm talking about Italy. None other than the Azzurri. Italy. Italy. So, Italy, nil. Turkey, nil. Look, I just want us to understand that, look, this is just a friendly. But I heard most of y'all were saying that you're very disappointed that there was no goals, that there was not much goal mouth action. But let me tell you, I'll give you my own version of the game and actually what took place in this particular game. What I actually noticed and what I was able to pick out from this particular game. You understand? Because, to say that simply because of the score was goalless does not necessarily mean that there was not much in terms of action. There was not much in terms of chances being created, right? There was not much in terms of good, football being displayed, right? Yes, good football was displayed. And let me just say it, Italy, they created the best of the chances against Turkey. And that is all thanks to their high pressing game, But they moved the ball too slowly, to cause trouble for, basically Vincenzo Montella's side. And it is a friendly game. We don't want to be too much on Italy's case as well as Turkey's case. But, one thing they have to improve on is being more quick, being more quick in terms of attack, show more urgency in terms of wanting to get the ball, in the opposition half, in dangerous territory of the opposition, And, Brian Cristante, he basically had the best chance for the Azzurri, at the Stadia Dallara last night. But the performance from Luciano Spalletti's men was too sloppy to deserve a victory against Turkey. There I can agree with most of y'all. However, it's not like there's not much time to panic, because hopefully they will learn from, this particular draw in Bologna. You understand? But look, there was better praising. There was better, pressing from the Italians, than the build-up. Because the main problem was that Italy moved the ball too slowly against a team that defended with a low block. You understand? And to keep things tight at the back, quite predictably, it's the same scenario we can expect in less than 2 weeks, when the Azzurri make their Euro 2024 debut against Albania. On the side of Turkey, they looked very well organized under Montella, However, the Azzurri, did very little to cause trouble for their opponents. And aside from that Cristante header, which came from that corner kick, right? It came from the corner kick. Italy had the best chances after winning the ball high up the pitch, And it is basically a good sign because it proves that players are absorbing what Spalletti actually demands from them, what he actually expects from them. And they're actually fit enough to do so. That is basically the positive news from it. And let's just say another thing is that, yes, Italy now have a new talisman, a new striker, so which means that they have to, come up with a different approach to the game. You understand? They have to conjure up a different approach to how they're going to, approach games coming up in the tournament, But Scamacca, the Atalanta striker Scamacca, he wasn't even on the bench, as he played 2 days earlier for Atalanta against Fiorentina. And Matteo, Retegui, started and only had a real chance to hurt when he sent a shot over the crossbar with a bicycle kick attempt. And with the Genoa striker on the pitch, the wingers and the attacking midfielder Lorenzo Pellegrini, they tended to go too quickly inside the box. Or at least they tried to, giving more reference points to, Turkey's defense. And when Giacomo Raspadori was introduced a few minutes later in the second half, alongside David Fratesi of Inter Milan, the Azzurri, tried to actually attract their opponents outside of the box, right? And you look at the diminutive Napoli striker, he actually had a good chance seconds before the full-time whistle, but he was actually denied. He was well denied by Altay, by Ndia, right? And Italy, they can actually take a few positives from this game, but there's still huge room for improvement if they are to actually defend their title. And Italy are very bad at defending their title. Very. We saw what happened in the 2010 World Cup, in which, remember, they were the defending champions going into the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. And remember, they disappointed. So they were knocked out in the group stages. So hopefully we won't see a repeat of that. Hopefully. But look, let's, in this Euro tournament, because they are the defending champions, the final squad, as I can confirm, I think it will be the squad is currently at 29 players. It has got 29 players. And then 3 players will be cut on June the 6th. And I'm assuming that one could be Ivan, Provedel, who has been sent to the stands alongside Scamacca as well as Nicolo Barella. And the 2 remaining will be outfield players. Those who seem to be at risk, I think, is Michael Foloruncho, as well as Samuele Ricci, and one between, basically, I think, Riccardo Orsolini, perhaps even Matteo, Zaccagni, because Foloruncho as well as Ricci, spent the whole game on the bench. And Orsolini as well as Zaccagni, played 45 minutes each, but they failed to impress. And AS Roma midfielder, the winger, Stefan El Shaarawy, also spent the entire game on the bench, you understand? But contrary to Zaccagni as well as Orsolini, he can play in different positions, in attack and midfield. And his international experience will probably give, him the edge over the Lazio as well as the Bologna wingers, respectively. And those who didn't play in this particular encounter against, Turkey will be deployed in a friendly, at, Coverciano, against, the Italy under 20. And following that particular moment, all the players will return home. And only 26 will come back to the training center on June the 7th, whereas Spalletti will announce the final 26-man squad a day earlier on June the 6th. Yeah. So, yeah, Le Bleu. As expected, it was basically a dominant display from Le Bleu. Talk about France. I mean, it was a very convincing victory for France. You understand, the 2018 World Cup champions, you understand, they put up a great display, in preparation for the massive tournament, the Euros in Germany, right? They are also amongst the favorites to actually win the tournament in Germany. You understand what I'm saying? Even though I would say I go with Germany, England as my first two favorites. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of controversy, based on the fact that there were certain players that were left out from the England squad, but I don't really believe that it's actually going to have a huge detriment in terms of, the three Lions going all the way to clinch the Euro 2024 in Germany, but we'll discuss that later. You understand? Right now, I want us to actually discuss the game that took place, the friendly game between France as well as, Luxembourg. You understand? It was pretty much, what can I say? It was expected. The result is really not, a surprise. Doesn't really surprise many. Doesn't really surprise anybody at all. You understand? It's what we expected, or even more, right? Because France they strolled to a comfortable 3-0 victory over Luxembourg in a pre-Euro 2024 friendly in Metz, on Wednesday. And guess who was the star of the show? As expected. You don't even have to respond to that one. Kylian Mbappe, sealing the win, delivering 2 assists, and even getting his name on the score sheet. So it was actually an emphatic display from Le Bleu, you understand? And, they really put up a performance that is actually worthy of them actually being favorites to actually win the tournament. So yeah, welcome once again to Football is a Religion. I'm your boy once again, Pube Simpati Mhlaba. Welcome, man. You understand? If you're new, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Asbangen. Okay, so how did the game begin? Well, I just want us to keep it very short and precise because, yeah, it was just a one-sided affair. You understand? It started with the PSG forward, Randal Colomani, who did put France just in front before the break, heading in from it wasn't a great, Kylian Mbappe cross, and it was a great header from the PSG forward. Just before Jonathan Klaus's thunderous strike from outside the box that doubled the advantage in the 70th minute. So it was basically a combination between Griezmann and Mbappe from a corner kick. You understand? I don't know how many easy assists will Mbappe have than that one, because basically what actually happened is that Griezmann, him and Griezmann combined from the corner kick. Griezmann came from the corner. He played a short corner to Kylian Mbappe, and then Kylian Mbappe went with the ball, and then he fed it to, Jonathan Klaus, and then there was a thunderous strike from outside of the box, which just basically hit the crossbar as it went in. So yeah, it was basically a great goal, you understand, a deflection of the crossbar, you understand, and it was just it was a thunderbolt, and I don't think Kylian Mbappe will ever have any other easy assist than that one. And then Mbappe did obviously get his goal. He added the third just 15 minutes later with a low first-time shot from near the penalty spot for his 47th international goal for Le Bleu. So he's just 3 shy of just reaching the half century. Hey, yeah, man. I mean, that didn't even take such a long time. Didn't even take so long. And the 25-year-old, who finalized his widely anticipated move to Real Madrid on Monday, has now been involved in 80 goals for France in 78 games. I mean, he's just a formidable player. He's a formidable leader. ever since he made his debut for LeBlanc. And he did a great job for them, right? Because Mbappe is a kind of player who's so versatile. He uses his head, he uses his body very well, you understand? And I guess, whenever he wants to win, he will win, you understand? And basically, he's a player that I just see, he's going to win so many trophies for both club and country in the future. And the World Cup runners-up also had Luxembourg pinned back inside their own half for large chunks of the opening 45 minutes. But the visitors, their disciplined defense held firm to actually thwart their efforts. And remember, Luxembourg are just ranked, 87th. You understand? And they missed out on what could have been, their first ever major tournament with the 2-0 loss to Georgia in their, Euro 2024 qualification playoff semi-final. And to add on to that, the goalkeeper Anthony Morris, denied Mbappe from close range just before the half hour mark, up until Randall Colomani, you understand, had found a way 2 minutes just before the halftime break. And from that particular moment in time, little changed. Very little did change, you understand? Because France, who are basically, as I mentioned earlier on, amongst the favorites to actually win Euro 2024, they continued to dominate. And the substitute defender Klose, increased their lead from another Mbappe assist before the striker wrapped up the scoring. And remember, Bradley Barcola, he made his debut. He's the one who set up Mbappe, you understand? When he replaced, Marcus Thuram in the 81st minute. And I must say, Bradley Barcola is one of those players, those emerging players that really did impress me. Watching him play for Paris Saint-Germain, especially in those Champions League matches, he really impressed me. I was really fascinated by him, his ability to make those runs, his pace, his skill, his tenacity, the way he's able to drift, into those dangerous positions, his crossing. I mean, he's such a wonderful player, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing him in the future. Actually, becoming, a formidable, what can I say, a formidable player, for both club and country. Even at PSG, perhaps maybe Ousmane Dembele will be taking over the reins now that, Mbappe has departed to Real Madrid. But, I'm also really, keeping my eyes, on this, youngster, Bradley Barcola. I mean, I can say, getting an assist on debut, no pressure, you understand? It is a friendly. But you understand, I must say the boy really did give it his all. You understand? So what's next for Le Bleu is that they play Canada on Sunday in Bordeaux in their last warm-up match just before Euro 2024 starts on, the 14th of June. And then France, remember they were knocked out in the Euro last 16 on penalties by Switzerland. And then they will be facing Austria on the 17th of June before playing Netherlands in that big one. In that big clash, on the 21st of June, and then 4 days later they play Poland. And it's also it's a second meeting in a space of like 2 years. Remember, they did meet in the round of 16 during the World Cup in Qatar, so they will be meeting again in the group stages. So Mbappe versus Lewandowski, we're actually going to see more of that battle very soon in the El Clasico between those two, now that Mbappe now is a Real Madrid player.